I want to talk through the tactical methodology of how you can utilize any and all of the information that we've discussed, if you've been watching any of the previous videos, of how you can orchestrate a plan to help you achieve your goals and to increase the odds of you hitting your goals like astronomically. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to divide it into 3 columns. And on the very first column, on the top left side, I want you to write action or how. In the middle column, I want you to write the outcome. And on the far right column, I want you to write your purpose or why. And now what I want to do is I want to start off with the outcome. You know, some people call this goal setting. And the challenge with goals, or New Year's resolutions, if you use that idiom to illustrate it, is, if you think about it, when's the last time you accomplished one of your New Year's resolutions or one of your goals that you set out for in life? And the answer when I ask that of big groups is generally pretty low, right? I had some amazing goal or idea I wanted to accomplish and I lost track of it. So I don't like to use those terms because I think the language behind those already has people feeling defeated. But if I can use the outcome I want, I think that's something people can resonate with more. That's why it's titled outcome. But you know, if you want to over illustrate it, you could call it your goal. Now, we need to make sure that this is something that's measurable, it's specific, it's timely, you know, all the SMART goal acronyms, if you will. And the other challenge here is sometimes people write down that, like, I want to lose 50 pounds. Now, I want to ask you a question. Think about the last time you lost your phone, you lost your keys. What happened? I mean, aside from anxiety, freaking out and looking for them, did you find them? And the answer is usually yes. So what happened the last time you tried to lose 50 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever your number is? Did you find it again? And the answer I usually hear right now is a very awkward, uncomfortable laughter of, yeah. So the challenge is when you're trying to lose something, we're not wired to lose stuff. We want to keep stuff. So what if we flip that on its head? And instead of writing losing 50 pounds, we wrote, I want to gain energy. I want to gain vitality. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel good in a swimming suit. I want to feel good if I take my shirt off. Whatever the illustration might be. I realize that the measurement behind that might be, I want to lose 50 pounds. But what if we were to describe it as something that fired you up? Because losing 50 pounds, maybe fires you up, but I bet feeling sexy, feeling confident, feeling good in a swimsuit, being able to go run, whatever, having vitality and energy, being a sexy Adonis might resonate more. So I would write out something along those lines that fires you up and juices you up. I realize the simple math of it is I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Now if I go to the far right column, where it says purpose or why, I want you to write out a whole list of reasons why you want to accomplish this. These should be reasons that bring you to tears, like emotionally move you. If they don't, you're not very committed to this and it's not going to work. It'll fail. So using this weight loss illustration, maybe I want to be able to be around for my kid's wedding. Maybe I want to be able to get down on the floor and wrestle with my kids without it taking 30 seconds to get down on the floor. Maybe I'm tired of waking up and hurting every day. Maybe I want to be able to feel amazing in a swimsuit on the beach to where people turn their heads and look at me. Whatever it is, I would write out 10 or 15 items that literally when you read them make you almost want to cry. And again, if you can't come up with those, this probably isn't going to be successful. Then if you go to the far left column, the how or the action item. Now what's interesting here is most people will just list 50 million things of what I need to do to, in this case, lose 50 pounds. And it becomes overwhelming. And the challenge is the confused mind, the overwhelmed mind, what does it do? Shuts down, stops, doesn't do anything. So what I would do instead, this is a core belief of mine, is put down 1 or 2 things. That's it. Otherwise, it'll be overwhelming and nothing will happen. So maybe in my illustration for me, obviously I have this ice cream problem, right? So what if instead I were to write down that I can have ice cream one time a week instead of the opposite of I can't have it? Because if I have to give it up, I'm not going to like that. It doesn't feel good. But if I'm saying, hey, I can have it once a week, that's 5 or 6 other days a week I'm not having it. Now, if you think about that, when I sit down and have ice cream in this huge bowl and syrup and the whole container, how many calories do you think I'm saving? And be nice as you say it out loud. Hurt my fragile ego. I can hear it here. I always like to just run the math on, say, maybe 600. I realize I'm maybe shooting a little low there, but maybe I'm saving myself 600 calories per day I don't have ice cream. 600 calories per day I don't have ice cream. I get to have it one day a week. If I multiply that times 5 days, 600 calories, I get 3,000 calories saved. Decent little swing of calories. Now, what if the second item I do is I go for a walk, 20-minute brisk walk, get my heart rate up, walk the dog, walk with my wife, whatever the case might be, but I go out and I do power walk for 20 minutes. How many calories do you think a person can burn in 20 minutes of power walking? I'd say somewhere around 100, 80 to 100. We'll do 100 for easier math. So if I do that 6 days a week, 5 or 6 days a week, whichever math you want, that's another swing of caloric burn of 500 or 600 calories. So if I add these up, I'm at about 3,600 calories a swing per week. Now, let me ask you something. Do you have any idea how many calories there is in a pound of fat? It turns out there's about 3,200. So if I were to do this plan on a regular basis for the next year, I'll lose about 50 pounds. Look how simple that is. Now, what's fascinating to me is if you look at this, most people put all their effort into that first column, how, and then they fail to do it. I personally think you should put 80% of your effort into what the outcome is and why you want it. 80% of all your planning effort should go into those 2 columns, and then 20% into how. Because if you don't have that commitment to do it on a day when it's freezing cold out and rainy or whatever it is, you'll have 100 excuses and you won't do it. But if you have some really good reasons why, you will. Now, what's interesting, going back to that New Year's resolution illustration, how many of you have ever written a New Year's resolution? And then when did you look at it or discuss it or contemplate it again? Next year on New Year's Eve when you were at some party and they were like, hey, what's your New Year's resolution? And you're like, same as last year, lose 50 pounds, right? It didn't work. Now imagine if you were to write all this out on a piece of paper and you were to pick this up and you were to look at it, I don't know, say maybe once a month. How much better do your odds get of this coming true? About 12? Because you looked at it 12 more times than you did last year? What if you look at it once a month or once a week? Did it just get 52 times better? What if you look at it every day? I would say it just got astronomically better. Now you're probably wondering why I had you write it in that sequence. The reason why I did is lots of people read the thing they need to do, the action step, and they're like, oh, it's freezing cold. I really don't want to go do this. And then they read the outcome, because your brain works left to right. Then they read the outcome, and they're like, oh man, I want to be a sexy Adonis. I want my wife's head to turn and be excited to see me. And then they read the why. And if they took the time to write really, really juicy reasons why, and all of a sudden they start reading them and it brings you to tears or it gets you emotional, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can do this. That's why it's written that way. So write those out. Take the time to write it out. I don't care if it's a weight loss illustration. I don't care if it's a relationship thing, if it's a financial thing. If you take the time to write it out that specifically, and then you review this on a daily basis, I promise you, in 12 months' time, you'll have accomplished whatever that is that you wrote down. The challenge is, most people don't take the time and put the effort into making it that specific. What's cool for me though is when I'm in a live lecture like this, I force people to sit and do this, right, over lunch break. And then I get to hear in 6, 12 months, how many people did it? and I get to see the results of the weight loss. I mean, we've had offices lose huge amounts of weight because they started exercising together as a team. That was part of their action item. We're going to go walk as a team over lunch, regardless of the weather. And they do it because the reasons are big enough. So if you take the time to write it out and then you commit, it'll happen. And here's the last step I want to share with you. You know, if you ask the number of people that have a goal in life, I don't know, maybe you'll hear 5%-ish, 10%. But then, so if you ask the number of people who have written a goal down, maybe 1%. What happens then if you write it down and you share it with somebody to hold you accountable? I mean, you're in the top 0.25%. And then if you execute as I've illustrated here, and you have the accountability of someone saying, hey, did you go do this? Or let's go do it together. Promise you it comes true. All the time, I see it every single day. And it's not because I'm some genius. So please don't hear me as speaking egotistically like I'm some genius who designed this. No, it's just a matter of execution and having enough commitment built into the process, designed into the process to get you over the hump on the hard days. So take the time to write it down, hit rewind if you need to, watch it again, write it down. And if you really want to be successful, then email it to me and call me. And you can grab my website, my email right off of the Accelerate My Practice email, probably here on the lower part of the screen right now. Email it to me and I'll call you and make sure you did it. And I promise you, your life will change. If you want to hear an example from a professional perspective, catch another video that will have the business side of this. Obviously, this is a personal, but I will absolutely have another illustration that will be business related that you can contrast that with that'll help you accomplish your business goals. Thanks for taking the time to do the homework.